Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a Massacre Monday for you Skellige fans out there. And today I want to do something a little bit different. Mostly because I'm burnt out of making decks in the same meta without any changes over 7 weeks. I know you guys are too. But also because, let's be honest, we're all thinking about the Way of the Witcher expansion. It's what's kind of omnipresent on our minds. Just constantly thinking about it as we're playing Gwent, thinking, oh man, I wish I had more Witchers. The community's been asking for this for a long time. It looks like we are almost all the way there with card reveals, and the new expansion is almost certain to hit in a week from tonight. So, with all of that said, I want to show you guys a few things. Number one, it's Skellige Day, so we're going to cover all the Skellige cards that have been revealed so far. Number two, I live in the US. I'm in the Eastern time zone, and at 1 p.m. Eastern time zone every day is when the cards are posted to where I'm going to show you. And I'm going to leave a link up above in the description or down below, depending on if you're on PC or mobile. Anyway, the big thing that you need to note about that, also, I think it's 7 p.m. CET. So just depending on where you guys are in the world, just kind of key in your calendars, check that out every day, and they update them. They've done a couple on the weekends, but most of them are going to be in the weekdays. Few of the real big streamers like Flake have said that they have stuff that's being revealed later this week, some big cards. But I want to point out a few things. So number one, go to playgwent.com, check out the Way of the Witcher expansion details. They posted the first 5 cards already are here, but if you click see more, it's going to bring you to this screen, and it's going to show you they have a trailer, they have new cards and new play styles. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to get expanded or not, but these new cards are super cool. Card backs. I don't know why they call them play styles, but they are really, really fun. So make sure to get that if you are into card backs like me. They are really beautiful, and that is just one card back that you're buying, but it's different for each of the factions. So that's where that comes from. So now this is going to go top to bottom. Neutrals, monsters, Nilfgaard, Northern Realms, Scoia'tael, and Skellige, and then Syndicate. So we're going to cover Skellige today. I'm going to cover the other ones in videos throughout the rest of this week as they get revealed. We'll start with the neutrals that are already up, though, because I think those are important. And I think it's also important to notice that these go in order of provision cost. So you start off with Witcher Student. So far, we've only been able to see one card that gives this, and it's Northern Realms Target Practice. It gives Witcher students. There are also Raid Armor Up spawns Witcher students as well for Skellige. So those are the two ones so far, 2 schools. School of the Griffin, School of the Bear, that give Witcher students. I anticipate each of the factions are going to get them somehow. We just haven't seen all those cards revealed yet. And we're going to get to Armor Up later on. So it's a 2-point Witcher token. It's doomed. And that plays really well with Berengar. At the end of your turn, destroy this card if it's the only Witcher on its row. It's a 9 for 6, so it's just a little bit cheaper than Skjall, if you're thinking for Skellige. And so I think he's going to be a really helpful inclusion just for tempo, point play. And if you're playing Armor Up and getting those 3 Witcher students with armor, they're really difficult to remove. And so he's going to kind of just be there as a 9-point body that's problematic for opponent in a short round. Triangle within a triangle, boost an ally by its provision cost or damage an enemy by its provision cost. Could be a cool removal tool. I think it's like really similar to like Becker's Dark Mirror, but instead of basing itself on the value boosted or damaged, it's going to instead base itself off the provision cost. So think of it as like Vivian Oriel times had a baby with Becker's Dark Mirror. Kazima Malaspina, I really am not all that excited for this card. I think if you've played Alzur, and if you haven't, do, because he is fun to play, but if you've played Alzur, you know that there's some big RNG associated with this, and the best part about playing Alzur is playing Oniromancy. 13 provision spell card gives you 1 of 5 different cards, only 1 of which is kind of crappy point play, and that's Regis. The other 4 are at least 7 points all the way up to 12 with Old Spear Tips. So Alzur is a really fun card to play. Oneiromancy is best, and he does do some cool stuff. Geralt Quinn is the bigger one, though. I like that they brought him in at 10 provisions, and he has some really cool stuff they do. So first off, he has a shield. Then on deploy, he's going to play a Witchered card from your deck. And then Adrenaline 3, and remember that means if he is the 4th card played, there will then be 3 cards in your hand. He's going to give it a shield. So you could play him as the 4th card, 3rd card, 2nd card, last card, right? Or penultimate for a second if you want to use cool words. But he's going to give that a shield. So some people are already talking about this card, thinking of it with King Ragnar. There's some cool Witcher synergy with Ragnar for whatever reason. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense lore-wise, but there are a lot of shields that are involved with Northern Realms. I think obviously you have to give Geralt Quinn a shield. Playing a Witcher card from your deck is a really interesting play, though. And I think that we are going to see Yrden utilized more frequently. I know some people are going to disagree with that, but I think Yrden is going to play really, really well, and you're going to see even Skellige benefiting from some boosts. So what traditionally had not been useful against Skellige, only kind of against monsters, Scoia'tael, and maybe Nilfgaard, is now kind of everybody, and especially Nilfgaard. Nilfgaard not getting the love it needs so far, in my opinion. But we'll get to that on Thursday, and hopefully by then there will be new cards revealed, and my opinion will have changed. But anyway, so this is a cool card. Alzur, the other final card. So Cosimo, I think, would play well with like the Witcher trio, just because they're so terrible otherwise. But if you're playing the Witcher trio, you often want Vesemir in there. Vesemir Mentor, who boosts all Witchers by 1. So even then, it's not necessarily that great of a transition because you're moving them up to 9 provision cards, and there are a lot of 9 provision cards. Just to flick over to show you guys exactly what there is. I'll get that open here just 1 second. I do really like some of these monster cards, though. But in terms of 9 provision cards, switching this over, you can see right here. Now you want to look for units. So card type unit is going to give you any one of these cards. So obviously like Tibor would be nice. Spear Tip's nice. Synthesis. All of these ones are pretty good. The defenders are all 9s. So, you know, you could get something good from them. But if you scroll down, there's also a lot of trash cards, right? Fifion, Osril. I mean, the lowest is 3 after those 2 1s. So I need to do some spreadsheet math on this. I think that the odds are they're going to be at least equal to their value, if not better. Many of them being 4s. And a lot of these cards also coming with some interesting synergy. But you could also get a chance of like getting Artis or Vildkarl. But you could get Seltkirk, you could get Kahir, you could get Stregobor. Even like Priscilla. Mata's not useful, but Reynard would be great. So the 9s are actually pretty decent. But just, it is such RNG and there are so many of them, right? So just is up to you. Are you a gambler? If so, please continue. Alright, so now jumping into the Skellige cards. I think personally that this is the best rounded out faction so far. I think it doesn't hurt that they only have 3 cards left to reveal. Now, so far where we are today, the best cards in the game that have been revealed yet, in terms of, if you're just basing off provision, which I think is the right way to think about it, or maybe we should say the cards that should be the best, that CDPR thinks are going to be the best, are Erland and for Northern Realms and Gezras of Leda. And I love both those cards. I have a whole bunch of really cool ideas for them. They could be crazy points, but we'll get to them another day. Today we're going to start with Bear Witcher Dead. So first off, on deploy, he's going to damage himself by 4. At the end of his turn, heal self by 1. While not damaged, gain 1 armor instead. So he's just going to kind of give himself some armor once he gets to 7 points. Could be really helpful. Could get like kind of an armor engine there where you could use Priests of Svalbard to damage him. I think this is going to work really, really well with Battle Trance. I think what you're going to see here are just some really great synergy cards with Battle Trance because they're going to damage themselves Every time you play an alchemy card, you can use some of those for removal. Giga Scorpion Decoction, Delirium being really, really good options. Maridrome for just points. You want to include that in your deck. It's going to heal a different damage unit, and you can play that onto Bear Witcher Adept's Armor if you don't have Draco Turtle or it's been heat waved. So really good flexibility there. And again, this is a 4 provision card, playing for 7 points that's going to just heal himself, right? So you can, it's like a passive engine, which Skellige has needed more of, candidly. I know they have some OP removal cards, and they are like a very, very good faction in terms of putting out damage and placing points on the board at the same time. Skellige is probably the best at that in the current meta, with the possible exception of Overwhelming Hunger. Though I would say Overwhelming Hunger isn't necessarily just like straight up removal. There's some tech cards that allow it to do that. But this is going to give you some really good, just general passive engine value up to 7 points, and you don't need Devotion. Which has been typically the use for the other 7 for 4s, right? So next, Armor Up. You're going to damage an enemy unit by 2, so we all got 2 points of value. Then you're going to spawn 3 Witcher students on the opposite row, damage them by 1, so onto your row. So you can get 3 1-point units because they're all 2 points. Remember, if you look up at the top, these are all going to they're going to place 3 of them. They're going to all damage themselves by 1, and then they're all going to get 1 armor. So you're going to end up with 3 armored units that are all damaged. And again, if you're playing this with Battle Trance, these guys are going to heal themselves every time you play an alchemy card. So really good value there. Now, I personally don't think this should have been a raid. I think this should have been a tactic card. And I know some people will be like, oh, tactics, that's an elf card. That's true. And tactics are like really OP, but you can't like either make this a warfare card, which doesn't really make sense for Witchers, or make it a tactic card. Now, Scoia'tael has several tactics cards, notably Eorvith's Gambit, being a really expensive one that they can't tutor themselves. But Raid is just kind of like, really, do we really need more Raid cards for Skellige here? But you do get Vabjorn is that great tutor, and you can use him. So, this does have some great flexibility. You can add in some removal cards with it into that package and get some great value. I think we're going to wait to see on these other cards how much value you can get out of them. But even if you don't want to play with Battle Trance, Arnagod is going to be just fantastic pairing. Next, Bear Witcher Mentor. Boost self by 1 for every damaged allied unit. So he also plays well with this Armor Up. Again, he plays for 4, has 1 armor, and then he has a provision cost of 5. So you really just need 1 of your own units to be damaged for him to get that value. Now, if it's Adrenaline 3, so if he's the 4th card, 3rd card, penultimate card, or final card played in any round, then he's going to boost himself by 1 for every damaged unit. And I just think this is like such a crazy good finisher synergy, and to kind of like give you a sense of how valuable this is. The current card that gives you this value is Giant Boar, 4 for 7, and then he boosts himself. So right now, this Witcher comes with an armor, and he gets the same value. He doesn't have to be played to a specific row. He can be played to range or melee, unlike Giant Boar. He just has to be played later in the round, which, to be fair, is typically when you're playing Giant Boar for that ranged value anyway, because you need time to set up that damage on the opponent units. So, he's really good. I think it's great value. Looking forward to using him. Now, General Bear Witcher. So basically for each of the factions, what we're seeing here is you have the first card is an Adept, then you have a Mentor, then after the Mentor you have just the Witcher who gets out there, gets his hands dirty, kills stuff, and then we have named Witchers that are coming in for every faction that have kind of cool special abilities. Some of them we've seen in story, or we've seen in Witcher 3, Witcher 2, or in just lore books that you pick up around the world there, and then also some of them are just made up characters that they have created, which I think is great. They should be doing more. They own the rights to the universe. Lean in. Bear Witcher. Damage self by 3, so he's 5 provision unit, plays for 5 right there. Adrenaline 4, damage self and an enemy unit by 3 instead. So if he's the 5th card or less played, he's going to damage himself and an enemy unit. So here the idea I think would be to play Bear Witcher and then Bear Witcher Mentor. Bear Witcher Mentor getting boosted by 2 because he's damaging an opponent unit, which will now be damaged, and himself. So Bear Witcher is then going to come down and boost himself for each of those points. Plus, he is playing for the full 8 points of value. And then if you're using Battle Trance, as I've discussed, you drop some alchemy cards and he's going to get himself boosted right back up. Notably, Trial of the Grasses is an alchemy card. And we're going to show you guys that card right now. But I think Trial of the Grasses, because none of these cards require devotion, you can totally use Trial of the Grasses, set a unit's power to 12. If it's not a Witcher, damage it by 6 first. You're going to want to use this. You know, different factions have different Witchers of different values, and so you might use it differently on other ones. But especially for Skellige, remember how this armor up is going to play 3 of these Witcher students at 1 power with an armor? Boom. That's an 11-point play right there. You can get boosted up to 12 points. Plus, it's an alchemy card, so if you're playing with Battle Trance, it's going to heal somebody as well. Well, high IQ play right there. So anyway, I think you're going to see a lot of value with that. Also, Battle Trance gives you Mairdrome, remember? So Mairdrome is going to be another alchemy card that you play, passively heal a unit, and then it's going to boost your unit by 12 points after you have damaged it by 6. Sorry, that's not actually the right calculation. It is boosting the unit by 9 after you've already damaged it by 3. So it plays for 6 total points. But if you have armor, it plays for 9. So, cool stuff you can do there. Alright, flicking back. So, now we have Gerd, who's really fun. So, Gerd is going to kind of be similar to Armor Up, but in the reverse. You're going to spawn a Deafening Siren on the opposite row and damage all units on that row by 1. Remember, Deafening Sirens, tokens, 2 points. Most people are familiar with it with Patricidal Fury. Arnulf, when you play Leader Charge, is going to drop down those 3 sirens, damage them by 3, sets up Bloodthirst 3, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're done. Gerd is going to give that to you, and you don't have to use Patricidal Fury. You can just use Gerd. Again, Battle Trance looking really good here, in my opinion. Then Adrenaline 4, spawn a Deafening Siren on the opposite row and damage it by 1 instead. So Gerd is going to be an early round setup. I think the weakness for Gerd will be like a Visigoda, Northern Realms synergy deck, where they're able to boost those units back up. Potentially like Imperial Enforcers for Nilfgaard, who can just kill any unit. Could kill off those 1-point units so that you don't have the Bloodthirst. But Nilfgaard struggles to protect against Bloodthirst with broad-based boosts. So I think Gerd is going to be really good to just set up Champion's Charge or other Bloodthirst cards right away. Again, a lot of synergy with Bear Witcher Mentor here too. Can boost himself by 1 point for each of those damaged sirens, so he's going to go up 7 points. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I will say though, Gerd is good tech for full row damage. You could also use him on a row that's already full, and it's going to deal that damage. Granted, his adrenaline is 4, so if he's the 5th card played, it's not going to do that. So they'd have to be like a Plague Maiden play where they've already spawned all the rats, and then he can just kill all those without spawning any of the sirens. So you miss the Bloodthirst, but you get the full value. So anyway, lots of things you could do with him. I think he's going to be a good tech tool. The damage is what is making his provisions valuable, but he does play for 8 points, so he's just kind of good tempo tool in terms of damage and putting points on your side of the board. Otherwise, he just plays for 5 points, so he is going to be used in a round where you're playing more than 1 card. So, now, Junod basically is just nothing new here. This is Vabjorn 2.0. He's going to destroy a damaged unit. I honestly don't know how much I'm going to see him included, unless we see some of these other units that can, like, proc 1 specific damage. That's where you get the most value out of something like Junod. You might see him separately included away from this Witcher's deck, in a deck where you could use Onslaught, perhaps, where you could use like a Leader Charge, just ping a unit once, boom, drop down Junod, get a lot of value there. In mirror matches, he's going to be good. You know, there's a lot of cards here that have really good value for Skellige, and so you could find some really great value killing these. Skjall, Judah, you know, cards like that. But on his own, 6 for 9 is a little expensive for the tech removal that requires you to damage something first. Could also be set up with like On-Crate Longship, so that the unit automatically gets damaged when it shows up and then you finish it off. But we're just going to have to wait to see. Last but not least, we have On a God. Okay, so he deploys and gains 1 armor for every damaged unit. So he's going to get a bunch of armor if you have a bunch of units that are already damaged. Adrenaline 4. So again, if he's the 5th card or 4th card, 3rd card, penultimate card, or final card played in a round, when your opponent plays a unit, damage that unit by Arnagod's power and damage Arnagod by that unit's power. So the idea here is you get like a tech removal tool that is going to get a bunch of... So you can get the armor regardless. So if the opponent has a big bloodthirst, he is going to get like something like 5 armor, let's say. Then when your opponent plays a unit, damage a unit by Arnagod's power, which here is base of 7 with that armor. He's going to do 7 damage to that unit. And he's going to do that full damage even if the unit only has 5. But the thing that matters is that unit is going to damage Arnagod by that unit's power. So let's think here, let's think Ikarin. 5 units are damaged. You play Arnagod. He comes down. He has 7 points of value, 5 points of armor. He's going to damage Ikarin by 7, kill it off because it won't have enough armor. And then it's going to smack him back for 13 points of value, which would be -5 armor, and then another 8 points of value because it's 13. So that there would kill off Arnagod since that was only 7. But if it was instead like a 5-point unit, he is going to damage it by 7. It's going to die, and then it's going to hit him back for 5, which is just going to proc off the armor. He still stays down for 7 points of value. So he's kind of like a trap, right? But the opponent can do the math on the trap. So that's the way to think about him. Anyway, I think you've seen here a lot of synergy that we're going to be able to do. I think the only other card I'd say that is going to work really well here is the Other Boar. Just setting up a lot of damaged units, getting a lot of value out of Wild Boar of the Sea to clean things up at the end of the round, and then just filling it in with a whole bunch of mid-range Skellige. All those bronzes we've come to love so much over these last few seasons, pairing super, super well with what we've seen so far. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please let me know down in the comments. If you thought, there's a card you anticipate coming, put that in there as well. And until next time, good luck on the path. Get out there, you witchers, and keep on Gwenting.